This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Monday, May 2nd, 2016, and the title of this rant will be Bernie's Revolution, a Con Job. Now, I had said before recently that Bernie needed to tone it down, that he's not going to win the nomination, that he should cut back on his comments about Hillary, and he should indicate to the people who are following him that his chances are not good. And he's sort of done that just a little bit. My biggest point about him in that was in reference to two things, is that he will not be the nominee, and because he will not be the nominee, don't mislead your following and don't fundraise off your following, knowing that you're not going to be the nominee, which he's been doing since, I'd say, March 15th, when it was pretty evident that he would not be able to be the nominee. Now, Kevin Drum at the Mother Jones had a more interesting article and expanded a little bit, indicating that this whole thing has been a con job in the sense that Bernie knows that he will not be part of that revolution, and that revolution that he is talking about will never happen, because the only two times that has happened in American history has been number one for the Civil War, and then number two for the Great Depression. And Bernie's a smart guy. He knows what the electorate is all about. He knows national numbers. He knows polling. He knows all of this stuff. And he knows that his following will not be enough to make that a revolution, meaning that right now, as it stands, there are plenty of Republicans, there are plenty of independents, there are plenty of Democrats who don't buy in to Bernie's revolution type thing, that we're going to change everything. And of course, there are a lot of people who Bernie's followers are who do buy into all of that. However, Bernie is smart enough to know that revolution is just not going to happen. And my position on it was that the things that he is striving for are tremendous. They're great. They're great things to strive for. And I'll just name a few. Believe in global climate change, comprehensive immigration reform, increasing the minimum wage, increasing taxes on the rich, etc. But the thing is, the chances are in January of 2017, regardless if it's Hillary or if it is Bernie, sitting as the Speaker of the House, most likely will be Paul Ryan, which means all of those things are not even going to get a look at in the House. And then it's going to be a quagmire and stalemate for the next 4 years, or at least the next 2 years, depending upon what may happen in the 2018 elections. But Kevin Drum's basic point was that Bernie is conning the people because he knows that he's not going to get a revolution, and that revolution will take a lot more time than he is indicating, and that as part of the revolution, there has to be some type of compromise because you don't have the vast majority of the electorate behind you. Now, there's a tremendous amount of pushback in reference to that. And Bernie's burners were basically indicating that he's just part of the establishment and he's not a believer and other nasty types of things. And then there were other people who responded that basically said, you basically put down on paper kind of what I was feeling about in reference to this whole thing. And that was my point that I've been trying to make for the last 3, 4, 5 months, is that Bernie has a great following, but that following isn't big enough to do anything. It has to be a coalition. It has to work with other coalitions. It has to be, a grassroots organization. They need to build on it. They need to get down and dirty in the municipalities, in the local, in the rural areas, in the cities, in the states, and in the national. It's got to start, and it's got to be effective by going in down and dirty and basically being part of the establishment, where if you can't get $15 an hour, are you not going to take 12 when the minimum wage is only $7.85? Of course not. And suppose it's some rinky-dink city. I just use that as a term. Suppose it's a small city. Let's just say in Indiana in the upcoming election. That movement has to be part of getting the state houses back in Democratic hands, because we saw the voter ID thing that's going on in North Carolina, and we see the the transgender law that's going on in North Carolina also, and that's at a state level, and you're going to need to have the grassroots movement to work on that to be able to overcome that, because at least with the voter ID, that was upheld by a federal judge just recently. So Bernie has a movement. It's a great movement. He needs to expand the movement. He needs to be part of the movement. And that movement is going to have to get down and dirty in all of the little areas. And they're going to have to fight. They're going to have to fight for 10 miles. And they're going to have to accept 1 inch sometimes. They're going to fight for 10 miles and they're going to get 8 miles sometime. They're going to have to take all of it. And then they can't rest on themselves. And the example I like to give is, I remember in July of 2009, and people were saying, when is Obama going to be Obama? Meaning, when is he going to be this great uniter that's bringing us all together, that's going to take care of all this change for us? And the thing was, he's just the president. The grassroots movement that that elected him, all of those great Democrats and independents said, okay, he's our man, go do our bidding. And they weren't pushing him, and they need to push him. And that's what Bernie's revolution needs to do, is to push, and to push. But they have to be part of of getting people elected, nominating people, fighting for bills, demonstrating, boycotting, sit-in demonstrations, filibustering when it's necessary, and that has to be at the grassroots level, the municipal level, in rural areas, in city areas, in state areas. As I have said before, these things that Bernie is talking about really will not happen until there is a Democrat in the White House, and that both houses of Congress are in Democratic hands, and that a majority of the state houses are in Democratic hands. And even then, our esteemed competition, my lovely sisters and brothers on the opposite end, will fight tooth and nail, as dirty can possibly be, in opposition to everything that we are striving for. And so what Bernie has been doing has been truly a con job, because he knows these things will not happen to get him elected, and to keep and to happen if he became president, because all of those people would have to be continually mobilized. And he doesn't have the people, and that mobilization can't happen. And he needs to be honest about that, which Kevin Trump basically has indicated that he wasn't. I fully agree. I fully believe in a lot of his causes. It now needs to be a movement. It now needs to be a movement that is going to have to get down and dirty, find their niche, go after the people that are vulnerable, be a part of all of those city hearings, state hearings, municipal hearings, to get the types of things that are necessary to move that thing forward. But let's be honest, you're not going to be the nominee. And even if you were the nominee, this is a decades-long movement that you need to start. And would never happen in the first term of a presidency. Again, unless you had the House, the Senate, the presidency, and a majority of the governorships in the states. But the fight must keep on going.